What if Chris got away with it? An alternate ending nobody wants. Imagine a world where a killer walks among us, hiding behind a perfect smile and a perfect lie. Welcome to Dark Truths, true crime stories, where we peel back the layers of the cases that haunt our nightmares. In 2018, Chris Watts murdered his pregnant wife, Shanann, and their daughters, Bella and Celeste, shocking the world. But what if he'd never been caught? What if his carefully spun story fooled everyone? Cops, neighbors, even us. It's a chilling possibility that could have changed everything. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and buckle up for a 2-hour dive into this terrifying alternate reality. Let's find out how close justice came to slipping away. A carefully constructed lie. Let's set the stage for a nightmare scenario. In our reality, Chris Watts' lies unraveled in days, his shaky TV interviews, his failed polygraph, his rushed confession. But in this alternate timeline, he's a master of deception. Picture him on August 13th, 2018, standing on his porch in Frederick, Colorado, facing a sea of cameras. His eyes well up, his voice trembles just enough. Shanann and I argued last night, he says. She was upset, said she needed space, and left with Bella and Celeste. I just want them back. It's convincing. He's practiced this story, maybe for weeks. He knows Shanann's social media showed her stress. Posts about their third child, Nico, financial struggles, their rocky marriage. He uses it, weaving a tale of a mom who snapped and took off. Her purse, phone, and car left behind? She was in a rush, he explains. Didn't want me to stop her. Neighbors nod. Reporters scribble. The public buys it. Chris anticipates every question. Why no note? She was emotional, not thinking straight. Why no phone activity? Maybe she turned it off. He's calm, composed, the picture of a worried dad. Unlike the real Chris, who fidgeted and stumbled, this version is meticulous. Every word calculated. Think about it. How do you spot a lie when it's this polished? Have you ever met someone who seemed so genuine, only to wonder later if it was all an act? Chris, in this world, is that person, and he's fooling everyone. No confession, no clues. In reality, Chris cracked under pressure on August 15th, confessing after a polygraph test exposed his nerves. But here, there's no confession. He sticks to his story like glue. Detectives question him, but he's unshakable. I don't know where they went, he repeats, eyes downcast, voice steady. Without probable cause, police can't hold him. No arrest warrant, no search of his house or truck. The Anadarko oil site, Server 319, where he had Shanann, Bella, and Celeste's bodies, stays a secret. It's 40 miles from Frederick, a vast, hazardous stretch of oil tanks and dirt roads. Cadaver dogs never get near it. The oil tanks, with their tiny 8-inch hatches, conceal the girls' bodies in corrosive crude oil. Shanann's shallow grave, hastily covered, blends into the rocky terrain under the Colorado sun. Time is Chris's ally. Evidence degrades. Oil eats away at tissue. Wind scatters dirt over the grave. Police search local parks, highways, even Shanann's favorite spots, but the oil field? It's not on their radar. No tip, no hunch, no reason to look there. It's chilling to think about, isn't it? A crime scene sitting untouched while a killer walks free. How long could a place like that hold its secrets? Have you ever wondered how many unsolved cases are just one missed clue away from being solved? Media frenzy misdirection. The disappearance of Shanann, Bella, and Celeste grips the nation. News vans clog Saratoga Trail. Reporters shouting questions at Chris's doorstep. He plays the grieving husband to perfection. He organizes a candlelight vigil in Frederick, standing in a sea of flickering lights, clutching a photo of his girls. Please come home, he pleads, tears streaming. The cameras love it. CNN, Fox, local stations eat up the drama. Chris is strategic. He drops subtle hints to steer the narrative. Shanann was under a lot of stress, he tells a reporter from KMGH. She'd been working so hard, maybe it was too much. He never accuses her outright, but the seed is planted. Maybe she left on her own. The media runs with it, headlines blaring. Missing mom overwhelmed? Social media amplifies the misdirection. On X, posts speculate about Shanann's sudden departure. True crime bloggers dissect her life, turning her into a mystery. Chris stays in the spotlight, giving just enough to keep the story alive without slipping up. He's not just hiding a crime. He's rewriting the story. Can you imagine the power of a well-placed lie? How does a single narrative shift the world's focus? Have you ever seen a news story take on a life of its own? Shanann under the microscope. As weeks turn to months, the public's gaze shifts to Shanann. Online trolls dig into her Facebook, where she posted glowing videos about her family and her job with a direct sales company. They twist her enthusiasm into obsession, her confidence into control. Reddit threads pop up. Was Shanann too controlling? Did she push Chris away? Tabloids fuel the fire. Did Shanann run off? Screams one headline. The secret life of a missing mom claims another. Leaked texts from Shanann to friends, mentioning marital tension, are taken out of context. People speculate she was unstable, maybe even harmed the girls. Chris's parents, Cindy and Ronnie Watts, add to the noise, telling ABC 11, Shanann was tough to live with sometimes. The Razuseks, Shanann's family, fight back. Sandy, her mom, tells reporters, my daughter would never leave her girls. Frankie Jr., her brother, posts on Facebook begging people to stop the lies. But the internet is relentless, and the victim becomes a villain. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? A murdered woman blamed for her own disappearance. Have you ever seen someone's memory twisted like that? How do you fight a narrative that's already taken hold? The oil site stays a secret. Survey 319, the Anadarko oil site, is Chris's perfect hiding place. It's remote, locked behind gates, and dangerous. Crude oil tanks aren't tourist spots. In this timeline, Chris is meticulous. He disables his work truck's GPS. Knowing Anadarko's system isn't actively monitored, he wipes down the oil tanks, scatters extra dirt over Shanann's shallow grave, and checks for footprints. His co-workers notice nothing. The site's constant hum trucks rolling. Pumps churning covers any trace of his crime. Security cameras, if they exist, overwrite footage every 24 hours, per company policy. No one thinks to check Survey 319. It's just another oil field, one of dozens in Weld County. The site becomes a silent accomplice. Its isolation protecting Chris's secret. Months pass, then years, and the tanks and grave remain undisturbed. Can you picture a place so remote it could hide a family forever? What kind of mind trusts a place like that to keep such a secret? The neighbors stay quiet. In reality, neighbor Nate trying to stick a surveillance camera was a game changer, catching Chris loading his truck at 5:27 a.m. on August 13th. But here, that footage never surfaces. Maybe Nate's camera is angled wrong, missing the truck's bed. Maybe Chris, knowing the camera's range, parks just out of view. Or maybe Nate never checks the footage, assuming it's irrelevant. Neighbors notice Chris acting odd, too calm, maybe distant, but they chalk it up to grief. He's just in shock, they whisper, rallying around him with casseroles and support. The community organizes search parties, puts up missing posters, but no one points a finger at Chris. That one missed clue changes everything. Without the video, police have no reason to suspect Chris's movements. It's a small detail, but it's enough to keep the case cold. How much can one neighbor's camera shift a case? Have you ever thought about how close justice can come to missing the mark? No polygraph, no pressure. In our reality, Chris's failed polygraph on August 15th was the crack in his facade. His nervous tics, his evasive answers he couldn't hide. But in this world, he's smarter. When detectives suggest a polygraph, he declines. "I'm too upset," he says, voice trembling. "I can't focus with my family missing." Police can't force him. It's his right to refuse. He hires a defense attorney early, someone who coaches him to stay silent. "Don't talk without me," the lawyer warns. Chris follows orders, giving vague, rehearsed answers during interviews. Detectives push, but without evidence, they hit a wall. No polygraph, no confession, no leverage. The investigation stalls. Police chase leads, sightings, tips, Shanann's phone records, but nothing sticks. Chris slips through their fingers, untouchable. It's a stark reminder of how fragile justice can be. What happens when a suspect knows their rights too well? Can a single no derail everything? The Mistress in the Shadows. Nicole Kessinger, Chris's mistress, was a linchpin in the real case. Her text revealed his double life. Her statements exposed his motive. But here, she's a ghost. Maybe Chris deletes their messages before police seize his phone, wiping his call logs clean. Maybe Nicole, sensing the heat, erases her digital trail, texts, emails, Google searches, and stays silent. She never comes forward. Her co-workers at Anadarko don't know about the affair. Chris kept it quiet. His family, unaware of Nicole, sees no reason to doubt his story. Without her, police have no motive, no hint of the new life Chris was chasing. The investigation stays focused on Shanann's disappearance, not Chris's betrayal. It's like a puzzle missing a key piece. How much does one hidden relationship change a case? Can a secret like that stay buried forever? Have you ever wondered how many crimes stay unsolved because of one missing link? No autopsies, no answers. Without bodies, there's no crime scene. The oil tanks at Survey 319 hide Bella and Celeste, their corrosive oil destroying DNA and tissue. Shanann's shallow grave, covered by dirt and time, blends into the Weld County landscape. No autopsies mean no cause of death, no confirmation of murder, no timeline to pin on Chris. Police treat it as a missing persons case. They search local rivers, forests, even Shanann's workplace, but the oil field never crosses their mind. Evidence degrades, rain washes away traces, oil erodes remains. The case grows colder with every passing day, filed away with other unsolved mysteries. It's a grim reality. No bodies, no proof. How do you solve a murder without evidence? Can justice exist when the victims are gone without a trace? Think about that. How many families are out there waiting for answers that never come? Family torn but no closure. Shanann's family, the Rzuseks, are trapped in agony. Frank and Sandy know Chris is lying. His story doesn't add up, his calmness feels wrong. They beg police to dig deeper, but without evidence, their pleas fall flat. Frankie Jr. takes to Facebook, posting, "My sister would never leave her girls." Something's wrong. But the world moves on. The Watts family, meanwhile, clings to Chris's story. Cindy and Ronnie tell reporter Shanann was overwhelmed, maybe even unstable. They believe their son was abandoned, left to pick up the pieces. The families clash, Rzuseks accusing Chris, what's defending him. The rift grows, fueled by pain and mistrust. Both sides suffer, but there's no closure, no answers. The Rzuseks hold vigils, pray for a breakthrough, but the case stays cold. Can you imagine that kind of limbo? Knowing the truth in your heart, but having no way to prove it? How do you keep going when hope fades? Online theories explode. With no arrest, the internet becomes a battleground. Reddit threads spiral into chaos. Shanann Watts. Runaway or victim? One post asks. Theories range from cartel kidnappings to Shanann harming her own kids. X buzzes with hashtags like #WattsMystery, amplifying every rumor. YouTube channels churn out videos, some with millions of views, speculating about cults, secret lovers, even aliens. Conspiracy theorists thrive in a void of facts. Some blame Shanann, citing her controlling social media posts. Others invent suspects, a shady co-worker, a jealous friend. Chris stays out of crosshairs, his lie holding firm. The truth drowns in a sea of speculation, becoming just another internet mystery. It's wild, isn't it? How the internet can turn a tragedy into a circus. Have you ever seen a case get lost in online noise? How do you sift through lies to find the truth? Chris becomes a victim. The media, hungry for a story, cast Chris as a tragic hero. Talk shows invite him to share his pain. On Dr. Phil, he sits head bowed, saying, "I just want my girls back." The audience tears up. Donations pour into his search fund. People send letters, offer prayers. He's a heartbroken dad, the face of loss. Pundits debate Shanann's disappearance, but Chris is untouchable. He gives measured interviews, sticking to his script. "I'm doing everything I can," he tells CNN, holding up a photo of Bella and Celeste. Petitions circulate to find the Watts family. Sympathy becomes his shield, deflecting suspicion. It's a masterclass in manipulation. How does someone turn a crime into a sob story? Can you believe the world could fall for it? Have you ever seen someone play the victim so well it blinds everyone? He moves on. Months turn to years. The case fades from headlines, another unsolved mystery. Chris quietly starts to rebuild. He leaves Frederick, selling the house on Saratoga Trail. Maybe he moves to a small town in Wyoming, changes his name to something generic, John Smith. Maybe he takes a new job, maybe in construction, far from oil fields. He blends in, charming neighbors with his quiet demeanor. Maybe he starts dating again, careful to keep his past buried. The world forgets the Watts case, overshadowed by newer tragedies. Chris becomes a ghost, living a life he doesn't deserve. Can you imagine a killer starting over like that? Slipping into a new life while his victims are forgotten? What does it take to live with that kind of secret? The family spiral. The Rzuseks are broken. Sandy spends nights staring at Shanann's photos, replaying their last call. Frank buries himself in work, but grief follows him. Frankie Jr. channels his anger into advocacy, starting a foundation for missing mothers. But the lack of answers haunts him. They know Chris did it, but without proof, they're powerless. Cindy and Ronnie Watts stand by their son. They move closer to him, maybe to that Wyoming town, convinced he's innocent. They tell friends Shanann left him, maybe even hurt the girls. The families never reconcile, their pain pulling them further apart. It's a tragedy within a tragedy. Two families torn apart with no closure. Can you feel their desperation? How do you heal when the truth is out of reach? Have you ever known someone stuck in that kind of grief? No Netflix documentary. In our reality, the 2020 Netflix documentary American Murder brought the Watts case to millions, exposing Chris's lies. But here, there's no documentary, no books, no podcasts. The case is too cold, too unresolved. True crime enthusiasts move on to other mysteries, cases with answers, with endings. The lack of closure means no one digs deeper. Shanann, Bella, and Celeste become names in a fading news cycle, their story reduced to a Wikipedia page with an unsolved tag. The world forgets and Chris's secret stays safe. It's eerie, isn't it? How a story can vanish without resolution. Have you ever thought about how many cases never get their moment in the spotlight? What does it mean when a tragedy just fades away? Law enforcement haunted. The detectives on the case carry the weight of failure, led investigator Tammy Lee, who pushed Chris during the real polygraph, retires with the Watts case as her biggest regret. She tells colleagues she knew Chris was lying, but without evidence, her hands were tied. The Weld County Sheriff's Office keeps the file open, but resources dwindle. New cases take priority. Officers who search for Shanann, and the girls never forget their faces, their names. "We failed them," one detective says years later, staring at an old case file. That kind of regret lingers. Can you imagine being a cop who feels they let a killer slip away? How do you move on when a case haunts you like that? Chris's second chance. Would Chris kill again? It's a question that looms large. Psychologists say someone who murders their family and gets away with it is a ticking time bomb. In this timeline, he's free, living under a new name. Maybe he's charming, blending into his new life. But the darkness is still there. He might avoid relationships, fearing exposure. Or maybe he starts a new family, repeating the cycle: control, resentment, violence. Without therapy or consequences, his psychological patterns don't change. He's a risk, always. It's terrifying to think about, isn't it? A killer walking free, unchecked. Have you ever wondered how many people like that are out there, hiding in plain sight? A chance discovery years later. Decades pass, maybe 20 years, 2038. A new Anadarko employee, doing routine maintenance at Server 319, notices something odd. A drought has dried the soil, exposing a bone fragment near an oil tank. He calls it in, thinking it's an animal. Police arrive and forensic teams dig. They find Shanann's remains, then the girls in the tanks, preserved just enough for DNA. The discovery reopens the case. News spreads, and Chris, now living as John Smith, is tracked down. His new life unravels. Neighbors shocked, his new identity exposed. The truth, buried for decades, claws its way out. It's like the past refuses to stay silent. Can a crime ever truly stay hidden? Have you ever heard of a case solved after so long? What does it take for the truth to break free? Justice delayed, not denied? The reopened case grips the nation again. DNA confirms the remains are Shanann, Bella, and Celeste. Chris is arrested, his alias useless. The trial is a media frenzy, with gray-haired detectives testifying about the case that haunted them. The Zuzeks, now older, finally see justice. But it's bittersweet. Decades without their daughter and grandkids. Chris's defense claims he's changed, but the evidence is damning. He's convicted, sentenced to life. The world learns the truth, but the cost is high. Years of pain, lives lost to time. Justice comes, but it's late, heavy with what-ifs. Does delayed justice feel like justice at all? Can you imagine waiting decades for answers? What does it mean when the truth finally surfaces, but the wounds are still raw? The fragile line between truth and lies. This alternate timeline is a fiction, a chilling what-if that shows how close Chris once came to getting away with murder. In reality, a neighbor's camera, a polygraph, a friend's persistence, they stopped him. But this story reminds us how fragile justice is. One missed clue, one perfect lie, and the truth could have been lost forever. It makes you think, doesn't it? How thin the line is between a solved case and a cold one. How easily a killer could slip through if the stars align just wrong. Shanann, Bella, and Celeste got justice. But this story is a warning: truth isn't guaranteed. It's fought for, demanded, uncovered by those who refuse to give up. Thanks for joining us on this 2-hour journey into a nightmare that could have been, here on Dark Truths, True Crime Stories. If this story shook you, hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done if you were on this case? Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell for more true crime dives that keep you up at night. We've got plenty more coming, so stay with us. Until next time, keep demanding the truth.